All right, so today is what, day 17? So Michael Cohen is still on the stand. And let's just get right to the article. It wasn't until after a decade in the fold, after his family pleaded with him, after the FBI raided his office, apartment, and hotel room, Michael Cohen testified Tuesday that he finally decided to turn on Donald Trump. Yeah, why? Why did it take that long? That decision led to a 2018 guilty plea to federal charges involving a payment to the porn actor Stormy Daniels to bury her story of an alleged sexual encounter with Trump and to other unrelated crimes. And it's that insider knowledge of shady deals that pushed Manhattan prosecutors to make Cohen the star witness in their case against Trump about the same payment, which they say was an illegal effort to influence the 2016 presidential election. Under questioning this week, Cohen has described the nuts and bolts of how the scheme worked. Just as an aside, when talking about Cohen, they don't say former lawyer, they don't always call him former fixer. I mean, maybe the first time, but and they don't always say former President Trump. They use other ways to describe him. They do that with everybody. They don't call Alan Weisselberg, they don't constantly refer to him as the former CEO of the Trump organization. They might the first time he's mentioned in an article, but after that he's just Alan Weisselberg. But they never forget to mention. Every time they mention Stormy Daniels, it's porn actor Stormy Daniels. Why? I mean, just because you might consider it a questionable business decision to become a porn actor, why always emphasize that? They never call her anything but a porn actor. And everybody else, they always either just use their name. Maybe the first time they'll remind you how this person is relevant. But like here, they mentioned when Michael Cohen testified, they didn't say former fixer, former personal lawyer of Trump. They just said Michael Cohen. But with Stormy Daniels, it's always porn actor Stormy Daniels. Why do you have to constantly push that? Okay, she's a porn actor. Why is that? Why do you have to constantly remind us of that? And it's many times in the course of an article. It can never be Stormy Daniels or her legal real name, Stephanie Griffin, I think. But they never do that. They never ever do that. Actually, when she took the stand, she did say Stormy Daniels, so maybe she did legally change her name. But the fact is, they never call her anything else but porn actor. It can never be just Stormy Daniels. Why? Why do we have to keep punching that? Anyway, to keep the loyalty and to do the things that he asked me to do, I violated my moral compass and I suffered the penalty, as has my family, Cohen said Tuesday. Really? Was that your moral compass? Because most people would, follow their moral compass. They wouldn't, feel loyalty towards someone who makes them consistently violate their moral compass. I mean, maybe on occasion, But consistently? Are we sure that's your moral compass, or that you just found your moral compass years later? Anyway, let's see. There's been no witness stand bombast or fireworks so far from Cohen, a man who was defined for years by his braggadocio. I know that word, and I'm sorry I butchered it. My mouth doesn't seem to want to work. As Trump's problem zapper. Instead, his testimony about purposefully mislabeled checks, false receipts, and blind loyalty, however dry it was, placed Trump at the center of the scheme and underscored the foundational argument of the case. That it's not about the spectacle of what Trump was paying for, but rather his effort to illegally cover up those payments. Exactly, which is why the fact that everyone insists on calling it the hush money case is completely missing the fucking point of this case. It's not about the hush money, even though that's what led to the crime. That wasn't the freaking crime. So, anyway, and the fact that, Cohen isn't being his usual snarky self is because he's a freaking lawyer. He knows how you're supposed to act on a witness stand. He isn't a complete idiot. He's just a bit of an asshole. A shocking moment did come, but it was courtesy of House Speaker Mike Johnson, who appeared at the courthouse with Trump and who used his powerful bully pulpit to turn his political party against the rule of law by declaring the Manhattan criminal trial illegitimate. He and other GOP lawmakers are serving as surrogates, while Trump himself remains barred by a gag order in the case following an appeals court ruling Tuesday. Exactly. This is how much of a death grip Trump has on the party right now. He has actually convinced other Republicans, other high-level Republicans, to do the stuff that he can't do because of the gag order. They are the ones who are decrying, and I'm sure that they're going to get around to threatening people, which will lead to... Actually, Juan Merchan has already gotten death threats from Trump's faithful because of the way Trump is phrasing this trial from the very beginning. So, when people say that Trump has no way of knowing that this would happen. Yeah, not only did he know, he wanted this to happen. Just because you don't know what a frickin' dog whistle is doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. So, I do have a lot of surrogates, and they're speaking very beautifully, Trump said before court as the group gathered in the background. I'm sure he does think it's beautiful. And they come from all over Washington, and they're highly respected, and they think that this is the greatest scam they've ever seen. Or, counterpoint, they don't think it's a scam, they just, are sucking your dick. The Republican presidential nominee has pleaded not guilty and denies that any of the encounters took place. Even though we have freaking checks. We have all sorts of witness testimony. We have documentation. Even though Mr. I don't do email because then the prosecution can use it against me, there are other paper trails that you can leave, like checks. Cohen has testified in detail about how the former president was linked to all aspects of the hush money scheme, and prosecutors believe Cohen's insider knowledge is critical to their case. But their reliance on a witness with such a checkered past, he was disbarred, went to prison, and separately pleaded guilty to lying about a Moscow real estate project on Trump's behalf, could backfire, especially as Trump's attorneys cross-examine him. I'd love to say what world you live in, but considering Trump was elected even once, despite all the crap that came out of his mouth, I don't put anything past people anymore. My lack of faith in humanity was never very strong, and the whole thing with Trump even being able to become president has cratered what little faith I had. Anyway, yes, you could say that Cohen can't be trusted, even if you say that. He is not saying anything that wasn't corroborated by witnesses before him. So it's not like he's the only one saying this stuff. Other people have been saying it too. So, on the one hand, yes, he's not the most credible witness, but he's not saying anything the others weren't saying. So, if he's saying the same thing others have been saying, maybe this time it's the truth. Defense lawyer Todd Blanche spent no time Tuesday asking about the allegations at the center of the trial. He instead worked to portray Cohen as a Trump-obsessed media hound, intimating that Cohen leaked self-serving information about himself. Okay. Amid rapid-fire objections from prosecutors, that doesn't say a lot about Todd Blanche and what he can do to defend Trump when everything he says is an objection. Yay! Blanche probed Cohen's hyper-focus on Trump, quizzing him about various social media posts and comments he's made. Cohen was asked to listen through headphones to a snippet of his podcast, as was Trump while sitting at the defense table. Cohen was asked by Blanche if he recalled an October 2020 podcast episode in which he said Trump needs to wear handcuffs and that people will not be satisfied until this man is sitting inside a cell. The line of questioning was designed to persuade jurors that Cohen was driven by personal animus to hold Trump accountable. Wait a minute. Your defense is that Cohen wants to hold Trump accountable for his crimes. That is your defense, that there is something wrong with, well, you just destroyed the entire criminal justice system. Because if that's the logic, nobody should ever be held accountable because there's always going to be someone who's zealously going to want to punish someone for crimes. What the hell? And may I remind you, even though he's been disbarred, he is still a trained lawyer. I wouldn't put it past me, Cohen testified. But is it fair to say you're motivated by fame, Blanche asked. This shit again. They did this with Stormy Daniels and she masterfully shot them down, and now they're trying with Cohen. You are playing a battle of wits when against a superior opponent. You just stop. No, sir, I don't think that it's fair to say, Cohen said. I'm motivated by many things. Cohen will be prosecution's last witness. Trump's defense will begin after Cohen, though it's not clear whether his attorneys will call any witnesses or if Trump will testify in his own defense. Trump keeps saying, first he said he was more than happy to testify, then he claimed the bullshit that the gag order prevents him from testifying, which, fun fact, it isn't. So I'm going to say he's not going to testify. He's just using the gag order as an excuse as to why he isn't, even though he knows damn well that the minute he opens his mouth, it's all over. So, but yeah, I'm curious if they call any witnesses. Jurors have already heard how Trump and others in his orbit were reeling after the leak just a few weeks before the 2016 election of an Access Hollywood tape in which he bragged about grabbing women by the genitals without their permission. Okay, that, even though they're still not saying pussy, at least that's better than grabbing them sexually, which doesn't narrow anything. I mean, what does that mean? The publication of the tape hastened the payments to Daniels, according to testimony. Cohen testified that Trump was constantly appraised of the behind-the-scenes efforts to bury stories feared to be harmful to the campaign, and after paying out $130,000 to Daniels in order to keep her quiet about an alleged sexual encounter, Trump promised to reimburse him. Oh, one more thing about the Cohen is just a lying bastard and you shouldn't believe him. They played a tape that he secretly recorded of him and Trump. So yeah, there's evidence besides his mouth. Jurors followed along as Hoffinger, in a methodical and clinical fashion, walked Cohen through the reimbursement process. It was an attempt to show what prosecutors say was a lengthy deception to mask the true purpose of the payments. As jurors were shown business records and other paperwork, Cohen explained their purpose and reiterated again and again that the payments were reimbursements for the hush money. They weren't for legal services he provided or for a retainer. Again, I mean, if you want to treat anything you ask your lawyer to do being legal services, then technically that would be true, but what he was doing was not legal services, so it's an important distinction because prosecutors allege that the Trump records falsely described the purpose of the payments as legal expenses. These records form the basis of 34 felony counts charging Trump with falsifying business records. All told, Cohen was paid $420,000 with funds drawn from a Trump personal account. Were the descriptions on this check stub false? Hoffinger asked. Yes, Cohen said. And again, there was no retainer agreement, Hoffinger asked. Correct, Cohen replied. But prosecutors also spent time working to blunt the potential credibility issues, painting Cohen as a longtime Trump loyalist who committed crimes on behalf of the former president. On the witness stand, Cohen described in detail the April 2018 raid that marked the beginning of the end of his time being devoted to Trump. How to describe your life being turned upside down? Concerned, despondent, angry, Cohen told the jury. Were you frightened? Hoffinger asked. Yes, ma'am, he said. But he was heartened by a phone call from Trump that he said gave him reassurance and convinced him to remain in the camp. He said to me, "Don't worry, I'm the President of the United States. There's nothing here. Everything's going to be okay. Stay tough, you're going to be okay," Cohen testified. Well, obviously that didn't work. Cohen told jurors that he felt reassured because I had the President of the United States protecting me, and so I remained in the camp. It was his wife and family who finally made him see how sticking by Trump was detrimental. What are you doing? We're supposed to be your first loyalty, Cohen testified. It was about time to listen to them, he said. The men were once so close that Cohen boasted that he would take a bullet for Trump. But as their relationship soured, Cohen became one of Trump's most vocal critics. The two have, over the years, traded vicious barbs. During their last courtroom face-off in October, during Trump's civil fraud trial, Trump walked out of the courtroom after his lawyer finished questioning Cohen. You know, I don't blame Cohen for lashing out, because I've seen that of a lot of former cult members, that they become so enraged at what was happening to them that they're a bit fierce when it comes to attacking their previous cult. So, throughout Cohen's testimony Tuesday, Trump reclined in his chairs with his eyes closed and his head tilted to the side. He shifted from time to time, occasionally leaning forward and opening his eyes, making a comment to his attorneys before returning to his recline. Even some of the topics that had animated him the most as he campaigns didn't stir his attention. Okay. So either he's like, yeah, I know I'm screwed, so I'm not going to pay attention, or he thinks that this isn't hurting him. It could go either way. Mr. Cohen, do you have any regrets about your past work for Donald Trump? Hoffinger asked. I do, Cohen said. I regret doing things for him that I should not have. Lying, bullying people to effectuate a goal. I don't regret working for the Trump Organization. As I expressed before, I had some very interesting, great times. And that is the end of that article. Considering the way he attacks Trump now, I don't know. It doesn't seem... Now, granted, he did exit a cult, and now he's lashing out. So I do get that, but is he really not the person he claims that he was under Trump? I don't know. Oh, good. Choking on my own saliva. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he really isn't that guy, and once this is all behind him, he's going to go back to being an upstanding citizen. That's possible. I'm not going to say that's not possible. I mean, it did take his wife and children to get him to snap out of it. So maybe he was like that. Of course, that makes me wonder if he was like that before he met his wife. In which case, how would they know that this isn't him? But anyway, I'm just rambling now. So I'll end it there. And with that, I will see you guys in the next video.